In today's episode, we have a special guest who's going to teach us how she built her business up towards more than $4 million in revenue in the last year and how she started out as a travel blogger, actually. She's going to give us tips and tricks on business, boundaries, self-care, but also on like freezing your eggs, sobriety, breakup, and so much more than that. So have a listen. It was a very open conversation. I contributed a lot as well, so have fun and I hope you'll enjoy it. Hello, and welcome to the Fast Forward Amy Show, the show where we lift your life and business with simple strategies. I'm Fast Forward Amy, your host and coach, and I'll bring you a new episode every Tuesday. With an online following of close to 1 million, today's guest is a social media influencer, online educator, and digital marketing expert. After building her successful career as a content creator and working with brands like Ritz-Carlton, Four Seasons, and Lululemon, our guest built a multiple seven-figure online education business that has helped thousands of women build profitable businesses as influencers and bloggers. She's been featured in CNN, Forbes, New York Post, Google, and she's spoken at top conferences like AdWorld and Startup Grind. On top of that, she's also the host of the top-rated entrepreneurship podcast, Her Life by Design. Let's welcome Christina Galbato. Hello, Christina.
Hello. It's
So
always
nice
weird
to
when we
have you
start a
here.
podcast and we're like talking already. And you're like, welcome to the show.
I love those podcasts where they're just like start recording and you just roll into it. Maybe I should do that.
Yeah, I know. We were talking about TikTok and how much work it is.
Yeah, I'm trying to give it a go on TikTok, but I'm like struggling to find like my own clear message. I'm like, am I like a success hacker? Is it freedom? Is it self-made millionaire? I'm literally stuck on which message I should put out there.
Same, because we both do so much. And I feel like the niche is really, really important on TikTok. But I do so much. And I'm like, I need to just pick one thing to be an expert on there.
Yeah.
It's a
So
lot.
Christina, I've introduced you before we started, which is something I will actually record after this episode.
Perfect.
But do you want to quickly just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I'm the founder of an online education business that mainly helps like aspiring influencers grow audiences online, whether it's social media or their blogs, create a personal brand, grow an engaged audience, put out purpose-driven content, and monetize mainly by working with brands. That's typically kind of the route of monetization that I teach, although we have a program coming out soon about how to launch your first online course.
Yeah, so cool. So the reason I invited you is because obviously you've accomplished all of that, and I think you did over 4 million in revenue last year, which has been amazing. But also because you are one of the coolest people I know. That's why I invited you.
You're so sweet. Right back at you.
Yeah, you have no idea. Like, obviously, like we're friends and we talk like about dating and other stuff. We should actually talk more about business. We actually
I know, right?
Yeah. Said that so many times, but the thing is, like, so often I'm talking to my best friend and we're like, did you see what Christina did? Yes. Did you see her apartment? Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes. You're like, you make everything seem so flawless. Sometimes I'm like, I wish I was more like Christina.
I don't mean to put things like that, but I could definitely see how it comes off that way. Although I've tried to be a little bit more, vulnerable online in terms of like everything that's happened in my life the last year. But I do like a good aesthetic. So I'm sure that's how it comes off.
But also that, like, and I mean that in a way of like, sometimes I'm just a little bit like a boy and like I make a big mess and not everything like the aesthetic. I also grew up with 3 brothers. No, it's just like, very inspiring to me. I'm like, yes, let's level up the branding. Let's do this better. But in terms of real and raw, you inspired me massively because this summer you shared about your breakup. And I was going through my breakup and I was feeling so bad and so alone. And you sharing about all of that really helped me to be like, okay, when I feel ready, I get to share about this too.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's the problem is people see like, even if you feel like you're not as, curated, which I think you are, people still see this amazing, successful woman who has like X amount of money and has huge launches. And they're like, oh, her life must be perfect. And I'm sure people sometimes think the same thing about me. And then it's like, no, you know what I mean? Like you can paint the exterior of your house as beautifully as you want it, but there's always something like on the interior going on. And I think it just connects everybody.
Yeah, so it's one of the things. I have a very weird thing I've been thinking about. I'm gonna invite you in this.
I'm scared.
No. I've been launching, obviously, launching has been going differently with everything that's happening in the world again.
Mhm.
Um, and I was looking at all of the different factors that could be influencing my launch. And because sales were lower than usual, lower than the numbers which normally indicate, I was like, holy shit, there's one really big difference in my launch now, which is the fourth launch of the same program compared to my previous three launches. Namely, I don't have a boyfriend. And I was like, what if the real and raw and the opening up and the crying
Ooh,
have actually made it so that people don't want to buy from me anymore? And I was like, I pitched this hypothesis to my team and I thought they
I'm
were going
shaking
to
my
be
head.
like, Amy, you're so crazy. This is bullshit. And they were like, you know what? I've had this thought too. And we're like, what the fuck? And then I did this exercise with them because you're flabbergasted, but follow along. What if? I'm
Okay.
not saying I agree with this, but looking at me, like me, cat woman, I have a cat, I have a big house, I live by myself. What if I had this? Can't believe I'm saying this on my own podcast.
Please, please.
What if I would post this Instagram photo, hypothetically, with this really hot guy, super hot abs, everything, and be like, this is my new boyfriend, and we're so happy, aka living the fairy tale life. Don't you think people's perspective of me would shift?
100%. But I don't think that it would change the willingness to give you money. I hypothesize just like maybe an idea that it might have more to do with like the state of the world. And maybe not wanting to spend like as much money and like being a little more conservative with finances. But I do see what you mean.
Yeah, so it's really funny because I always tell my team when they want to follow courses or get coaching or whatever, I'm like, we have resources, like we're a wealthy startup. You can pitch me stuff and I'll give you the budget. My copywriter, like my junior marketing manager, Amber, was like, Amy, you're always saying we have resources. We can go and get you a guy.
You're like, please. And while they're at it, please find me one as well.
Yeah, but like the bottom line was we need to put a different message out there about the fact that it is a choice, that I am single, that I chose all of this. Because maybe
Yeah.
by not talking about my breakup that much, I gave people the impression that maybe we broke up because I worked too much or because of the kids or whatever, whereas it was just we were not a match and I decided I didn't want this for myself anymore.
Yeah.
But I think by being respectful and not talking about everything, I might have fucked up my messaging.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't worry too much about that, but I do see it as like a learning lesson for other female entrepreneurs that are following you, like the pitfalls of not the pitfalls, but like the harder aspects of being a successful woman and trying to find a guy. It's hard. Like dating is hard in general, but I feel like there is an inherent dynamic when the woman makes more money or is working constantly or is not willing to just stay home and take care of kids. Like there's so much that goes into that, and maybe just having it be like an empowering lesson for your audience on like not taking less than what they deserve or something.
I think if one more person asks me like or tells me like, oh, it's gonna be hard for you to find someone because most men are gonna be intimidated because you make more money than them, I will punch someone in the face.
I'm glad I'm not in front of you because I was going to tell you that.
That's the whole message like, oh, you're intimidating. I'm like, I'm not intimidating. They're intimidated.
I love that. I think I saw that on like a TikTok the other day and I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's right.
So I want to talk to you about your business, but I also have many, many other questions.
Okay. Okay. I'm
So
scared.
let's like not fast forward, but let's rewind to
Okay.
August 2021. I'm always confused about what year it is. It's
It's
2022.
2022. Yeah.
Um, because of COVID, everything is.
I
Just,
know. It's still 2020 in my mind.
yeah,
So it's fine.
yeah. Sometimes I'm like, it's not 2023, but what year is it?
Yeah. 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 Or people ask me, oh my gosh, someone asked me the other day, like, when's the last time you were in Italy? And I was like, oh, a year ago, because that's how I would have answered it in 2020. I feel like I'm permanently mentally still there. It's crazy.
Yeah, I was on a walk this week, and there was a song on my Spotify. I was like, "For You," and it was called 2019, and it was about how amazing that year was. And I love the song. I'll send it to you later.
Hmm.
Yeah. So August 2021, you shared about your breakup and other things, which is I
Uh-huh.
think the first time maybe like I haven't followed you for 5 years or something, but
Yeah.
you were so open and raw and real, and you were in Mexico.
Yeah.
You want to quickly touch? You don't have to say everything, but just like
Yeah.
what made you share all of that personal stuff?
Yes. Okay. So there's two aspects to it. First is that at the time I had just gone through a breakup when I shared about everything. But the other major thing was that I had been sober at that point that I'd shared for about 6 months. So I got sober from alcohol in April 2021. And at the beginning, it's one of those things where at the beginning, I didn't want to really believe that it was like a permanent thing. And then it was like, oh, I'm not really ready to tell anyone about it. And then I started to work up the courage to talk about it. So I literally spent so much time like in the mirror, like scripting out what I was going to say to my audience about getting sober. And so I had that in the back of my mind. And over time, it just kind of created this like dissonance between what I was putting online and what was actually happening in my life. Where online, it was like social media is the most important thing to me. And in the back end, it was like, I'm really struggling. Like I'm just working on myself right now. It was a complete dissonance between the two personas, I guess. So it was kind of building up inside of me. And then in September, my boyfriend and I broke up, long-term boyfriend and I, and then it was like an explosion. I was like, I need to share about everything that is happening right now. So I took myself on a little eat, pray, love trip to Mexico after my breakup, and just like jumped on stories and talked for probably 15 minutes worth of stories about everything that was happening. And it was like the most support that I've ever had online. It was by far the most vulnerable thing I've ever shared. Like I was definitely crying in those stories and just being really honest about what was happening. And it was like the hardest thing I've ever done online, but definitely the most rewarding and just like opened up a new door for me as far as my purpose goes.
Yeah. Was that, did you feel relieved afterwards?
Yeah. My friend told me, to expect kind of like a vulnerability hangover. So I felt an enormous sense of relief, but also just felt like I needed to curl up in my bed for like 3 hours because it was a lot to share. You know, when you have something inside of you that's like so emotional and carries so much like shame and weight, it feels really good to get it off your chest. But at the same time, it's like, oh my God, 200,000 people now know
Yeah.
about this dark secret.
Yeah. Yeah, it helped me a lot. So thank you for doing that.
Oh, good. Good. I think it helps a lot of people too. Cause it's like, even if you can't relate to the sobriety thing or the breakup thing, the fact is that somebody who has a large following came online and talked vulnerably about something that they were going through. So I think, you know, it did empower a lot of people to be like, let me share more vulnerability with my audience. And it connected me a lot to people in my audience as well. I feel like, you know, you create like a sense of admiration and aspiration by sharing the perfectly curated life, but people don't feel truly connected to you until you share your struggles.
Yeah. I'm currently like, so like maybe I overshared is what I feel like, or maybe I didn't share enough specifics or like,
I think you did perfect. Whatever you did was perfect.
yeah, whatever I did felt good at the time. So
Yeah. That's what matters.
so you know what I just realized is I see you with your headphones and I'm like, I'm recording this audio probably double. So I'm gonna grab my headphones. The beginning will maybe be lesser audio quality than the
Okay.
just be right
Okay,
back.
perfect.
Recording rolling. You can
Okay.
do something in the meantime.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so funny and also ridiculous. Rookie mistake. It's because I have too much fun recording these podcasts.
You're like, it's just a casual thing. No worries. I only did it because my AirPods were dead. So
Okay, so I'm gonna make sure this connects and then I'm gonna put the right microphone on the right shenanigans.
technology.
Everything was set up. This is the first thing. I have a full-time assistant now who got everything.
Nice.
Yeah, she's like my nanny.
Wait, can you tell me everything that you can tell me offline? I want to know everything that she does.
I'll tell you.
I've been thinking about hiring an assistant
I'll tell you all the things.
because your girl needs help. My therapist told me to get an assistant, so that's what you know.
Some AirPods are connected. I will be select a speaker. Those are my AirPods. Microphone stays. If my audio gets scratchy, please do tell me. Also, I'm considering just leaving everything in the podcast as
It's fine.
as we're talking.
Honestly, I like listening to these conversations the most. So
yeah, this is perfect. Yeah, so my assistant is really great. So everyone was like, so it was basically my ex-boyfriend. We had this thing where he was like taking care of the house and stuff a bit, but he ended up just working a lot. So basically nothing got done because I was definitely not in shape to do it, running two businesses, having the team members. So I'd already decided a while back to get an assistant, but it seemed like such a weird thing to do. I think it's comparable to when you first figure out you need like help, like a cleaning lady, or I don't know what the right term for that is. A lot of women struggle with guilt because you're like, am I a
Yes.
bad woman then because I'm
Yes.
not doing my own laundry or not cleaning up my own stuff? Worked
Yep.
through that years ago, but hiring the assistant, which is like a full-time wage for like doing groceries, taking my car to the car wash, getting gas, prepping breakfasts often for me, helping me recording days, doing stuff for my team, booking plane flights. It seemed a bit extravagant, but I have a fairly abundant mindset. So I was like, I'm going to do this. But then it became really difficult to find someone. And also,
Yeah.
as I was saying it, I started noticing a lot of people in my environment. This was post breakup, were like, but you don't need someone full time, do you? And I was like, I actually do. Like, I also, my house is sometimes part an office. This is my studio.
Mm,
And I was like, I do and I want it. But a lot of people were against it. But I think
yeah.
best decisions of my life have come from doing stuff no one agreed with.
Yes.
So I went ahead and like finally found someone who doesn't like working too much, like with a computer and stuff, and who loves taking care of me. She has 3 kids, and now she has a fourth kid, which is me.
So much. I love that. I have the same thing as you. I have like a weird mental block around it for some reason. I also don't know what I would have her do. I mean, as
Oh,
things come up, I'm like, I know. There's so much. There's so
there's so
much.
much.
But it's a mental block. It's like, am I really that lazy that I can't like book my own shit or like,
I
yeah,
used to
it's
have
a
judgment about women who are like career women being like, oh, I have someone like cook meals and like pick up the kids, and then like I'm there at 7, and the quality time I have with him, at least it's really quality time when I'm not cooking. I used to be like, you're just a bad mom. And
yeah,
now I'm like,
yeah.
I so get those women, because at the end of the day, like if when I'm done working, I'm like, I'm done, and my entire house is always tidy. There's always food in
Oh
the
my
fridge.
God.
Baby gifts, like everyone is having babies, all the gifts get bought. It's
Ooh,
it's amazing. You can thing is, it's not
yeah.
about what they will do that you are doing right now. It's about all of the extra shit you're not doing that they will do.
That will make my life better. I need someone also because most of my team is remote. I need someone in New York to help me with like content. Like I have my little monthly professional photo shoots, but like iPhone photo shoots, real videos, like things like that, I need a lot of help with. So that could potentially be added into the job description.
Yeah. You know,
We'll
I
see.
already struggle saying this. I already think like, oh, I sound so arrogant and spoiled saying this. But
No.
it's the dream. Honestly,
Oh.
I mean, I love my entire team. I literally told them just now they're my dream team.
Mm-hmm.
But I could probably just not, like, I could probably still run a business without my team, maybe. But I couldn't live my life anymore without my assistant.
Without your assistant. That's gonna be me. That's gonna be me 100%. I'm gonna message you like 3 months from now and be like, I have an assistant. And I'm like, yeah, that's it. I'm set.
I'm just so much happier because she takes so much weight off my shoulders. And
Mm-hmm.
it's because people are like, oh, but you don't have kids or you don't have baby. I'm like, I do have two businesses. And you know what? I take care well of my team and hundreds of clients and all of that. And I don't need to add stuff to add stuff. I'm like, oh, I always want my dressing room to be tidy. And I make a huge mess. I'm like, I'll kick off my shoes. I'm like a boy. It's like, oh. And I'm like, you know what? I don't have the mental capacity right now to change that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I mean, it inspires me that she takes care of things, and then I'm like, I'll fold these pens.
She comes in and is like, nice job. Let me fix
And
the
she
rest of
doesn't judge
this.
me. I
Oh,
told
that's
her in the
nice.
beginning, it's gonna be chaos. Just take
Yeah.
care of me.
The
Thanks.
other mental block is that she's older. Like,
Yeah.
for some reason, I have an enormous like thing in my head about that.
Yeah, I had the yeah, I told her I had that. So we just had another conversation where I was
Oh,
like, I
interesting.
really struggle asking you for stuff, but I want
Yeah.
to be able to be like, bah!
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
What did she say?
no, she's like, but that's my job, and I want to make all
Oh,
things nice and happy and stuff. And
yeah.
she loves it with the team as well. Like today we had
Yeah.
someone who come back from break leave, because I have like a full-time team who are like
Mhm.
actually in the area.
Oh, that's nice.
And she took care of like a great breakfast for everyone, and she's happy, we're all happy.
Oh,
um
yeah.
but it's
That's
very
good.
special, and a lot of people don't get it, but it was definitely probably that and getting my cat were the two best decisions of 2021. Sorry to all other team members I hired in that year. I love you guys too.
But the cat.
Oh my God, my cat is so cute. Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So, mini photo shoots. You said something there. So that's something
Mhm.
that you just said, which is exactly
Mhm.
one of those things where I see you doing it. You're like, did my photo shoot today or did my makeup for ads and reels? And I'm like, you're so committed. How do you do this?
I'm like not though. I mean, so I have a photographer in New York that I work with like on a monthly basis. So we do like little photo shoots so that I just have some Instagram content. But what I'm finding with what people like on Instagram is not the professional curated photo anymore. So I need someone that's going to follow me around with an iPhone
And
and
make you
just
look
take
ugly.
yeah, that too, probably like 90% of them. Just like take like candid shots, like grabbing coffee, like walking down the street, like while I'm working, and especially like reels videos as well. Just take that candid content. But yeah, I typically like I'll shoot on Fridays is my creative day. So I try to shoot like reels, photos, write captions, finalize captions on Friday. Like anything creative wise is always Friday.
Yeah, I love that. Mine is Tuesday, so that's why I'm doing this podcast.
Tuesdays. So I do not consider this creative for my podcast.
Yeah. I just
Takes a lot
got
of brain
interviewed.
power.
That feels creative, but I think you're better at prioritizing the creative stuff. It's been my biggest struggle, to be honest, to prioritize that. And I'm taking it back in the mornings.
Mm-hmm.
It's a
It's
journey.
hard. It's hard,
Yeah. So
especially I find because like nobody has your brain. So like with captions and stuff like that, you can always try to outsource it, but I find it's like I always have to be in there editing because I want to clone myself, but we haven't gotten there yet.
I am starting to have a mini me
Oh, good.
in my on my team, but it's still, I think it's just maybe for a long time I over delegated it, and it actually makes me really happy to be creative and to think of stuff. And then sometimes I'll just
Yeah.
write a post in the moment and it does so well, and I'm like, oh
Yeah.
yeah. But when you're always working in your business, you don't have white space anymore. So it's become
Yeah.
a big priority for me to create that white space again. So I'm doing that
Yeah.
in the mornings. Like I'm creator
Nice.
in the mornings and CEO in the afternoon, which is
Mm-hmm.
basically the deal
That's a
my
good
team knows.
balance. Yeah. I love
Yeah.
that.
So do you want to quickly touch on what your business is structured like?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. As far as offers go or a team or
Yeah, like kind of the
okay,
business model. So like we've talked
cool.
about this a lot. I have a lot of coaching programs and I do very heavy launches, which basically everyone knows who's ever followed me. It's like I push
Yeah.
and I push hard and I love sales.
Yep.
I'm gonna scale the launching back a bit and work more on passive funnels and digital
Mm-hmm.
products and all of that. But I've always felt like you've done the opposite, basically.
Yes. So passive income is very important to me. Basically, right now I have two online courses. So the influencer bootcamp, which is more focused on Instagram, and then I have the blogger bootcamp, which is more focused on blog growth. And both those online courses are around the $500 mark, and they are both sold passively through evergreen webinar funnels. And with that, we use most of the traffic that comes into the funnels are through ads, some organic, but mostly ads. Just depends on how much energy I want to put into organic social. And so, yeah, those are our two offerings. We also have a mastermind program that I launched for the first time a couple of years ago, and that's been a really amazing program because it's allowed, income that doesn't have quite as many expenses associated with it. And it's been a great way to help people at like a larger scale and go more in depth with them. But that's like it on the coaching side. I am somebody that knows that energetically I get drained very quickly doing coaching and one-on-one kind of support. So I prefer to keep things in online courses. That's the only live launch we do is the mastermind program. And then the other two programs are evergreen. We have another online course launching in like the next probably 2 months that is about online courses, an inception moment. And of course, we'll have a live launch for that and then turn it evergreen.
Love it.
Yeah. So pretty much like with those two online courses, we have consistent from those two consistent 200K months at this point, close to 300K in passive income.
So good.
Yeah.
I need to drink water to digest how good that is.
I just thought you were going to be like, I need to drink, period.
I also just heard my mom come in. My mom was texting like, are you home? And I was like, I
Yes, but
replied on my
don't
computer, but
me.
then on my phone I saw that it didn't come through, and I was like, my assistant was transferring my new iPhone, and
Yeah,
the chances are high my mom will walk into the studio, although I don't think the
all good.
chances, like, she will probably not walk into the studio, but I hear
She'll
my
hear
mom
you.
and she's probably here to cuddle my cat. I'm
So
I
cute.
don't know if my mom loves me more or my cat.
Probably the cat, but it's fine.
Yeah, it's okay. The cat is more available than I am.
That's fair. More cuddly, more
Yeah.
loving.
Yeah. So what's been like the biggest transition in your own role? Because that's one of the things that I admire that you've been able to keep so well, is like that creative time, mainly probably also because you don't do that much coaching. Maybe
Mhm.
that's been why, because it's more like on the external facing, like the marketing content, that's your focus. But how has your role transitioned? Like, how did you start? Where were you in the middle and where are you now?
Yeah. So I've been through an interesting journey, as all entrepreneurs have. I actually started as a travel blogger. So I started as a travel blogger in 2016. And I'd started that with kind of just as a passion project. Didn't even know you could make money online. That's how ignorant I was. I mean, 2016 was a different time. So anyway, that's how I started. And so over the next couple of years, I was working with a ton of brands like Ritz-Carlton, tourism boards, like Tourism Board of Bahamas, Morocco, mainly just creating content for them to use on their marketing, as well as like promoting the destination or the hotel, whatever partnership I had arranged. And that was my full-time income for like 2 years. And basically started to notice that like a lot of the questions I was getting were less of like, what do I do in the Bahamas, and more of like, how can I do what you do? How can I grow an audience, create content, work with brands? So that was the first course that I created, was the Influencer Bootcamp, which is focused on just that. And for like a few years, I was kind of like in that weird overlap, because I was like, I don't want to let go of the travel blogger identity. I love this online education side. And I think it was literally only 2020 recently when I fully went over into the online education side
Yeah,
and
I
kind of
remember.
had to dive into like, why am I holding on to this identity? And now it feels good to just let go of it. I love traveling still, but I'm so much more of a homebody, and like to travel and not be under any obligation to create content for hotels is a nice position to be in. So yeah, that's probably been the biggest shift overall.
Yeah, I think something people don't know is how exhausting travel blogging is or whatever. I did a
Oh my
trip
God.
once, which was like the hotel was like sponsoring,
Yeah.
and every day we had to put out like specific content and stuff, and I didn't know a lot about it back then, but I was like, holy shit, imagine if you're the Kardashians and there's a camera on your face the entire time. That's so exhausting. I had never really realized how tiring travel blogging influencing must be until that moment. I was like,
Yeah.
nope, I don't want to do this. I'll pay for my own hotel.
Exactly, exactly. It is so exhausting. And the thing is I kind of reached a point where I was like, I got into this and I started my blog because I love to travel and experience new cultures and meet new people and do things. But now my job has literally become like creating content 24/7. And you don't get to actually enjoy travel at
No, because you
all.
always have to put on makeup, you always have to put on the right clothes, you have to
Yep.
be before sunset, whatever, like all of the locations, because people might hear me saying this, they're like, yeah, but it looks pretty neat, but it's actually very, very hard work to get the shots.
It's
You're
really
not on a
hard
vacation
work.
anymore.
No, you're waking up at like 4 a.m. to drive 2 hours to shoot a sunset, and you're getting the most perfect shot there. You're simultaneously having to get shots on the ground while flying up the drone. And oh my God, the sunset's coming above the trees. Go fast, run into it's a lot. It's a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah,
Not
it
chill.
is
But
definitely
what's
a lot.
cool there is that when you pivoted, you created it from need. So that's kind of like when I built my
Mhm.
fitness business. Is I'd always been into business. I'd started my first business when I was 10 years old.
Mhm.
And then when I was fitness coaching, a lot of people came to me to ask me how I had built my business. This was before I even used
Yeah.
Instagram for a business. And
Mhm.
I remember really loving that. I loved helping other coaches create their own business. But there was this thing of like I couldn't let go of that previous identity, and at a certain point I decided to
Yeah.
not let go but just lean into it. And
Yeah.
I discovered that I'd always basically been a business coach. It was the business and the coaching that attracted me. It
Mhm.
wasn't necessarily fitness coaching, and I think a lot of people struggle with this when they want to make a change. They're
Yeah.
like, oh, but then I need to like cut the umbilical cord of the other thing. I think
Mhm.
sometimes you can just kind of like let it die down. It's fine.
Yeah,
And then after a
right.
while, because I used to say if I could clone myself, I'd keep on doing the fitness coaching. If I
Mhm.
could clone myself now, the clone would just be on TikTok all day.
Yeah, exactly. Same.
I would definitely not still be
Same.
teaching squats to people. So,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
I think I think that's something we often experience in business. You're like, oh, by then everything needs to be perfect.
Mhm.
Perfection will never happen. And maybe you won't be able to basically really kill something, but
Yeah.
just kind of go towards what you do want, a new direction.
Yeah. And oftentimes too, like I feel like we discount how our audience is changing as well. Because I feel like this, at least this is a mentality that I have caught myself having, is that I'm constantly changing and evolving, but my audience is like the same as they were 2 years ago. And that's not true at all. And maybe they want something new from you, something different. You probably are discounting also like the number of people in your audience that would be interested in these new offerings and this new type of content from you as well. So not getting too locked into like, this is my identity, and gradually shifting, I think is really important, like you said.
Yeah, that's definitely something I'm going through right now. Like I did the thing where I focused really hard on one program, which I still recommend to people, like focus on one thing first, make that work, then build other things. But I think
Yes.
I took too long offering new options to people. So I'm changing that now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So creating from a
As
need,
always.
creating from what people ask is really great. And then yeah,
Mhm.
your audience is always evolving. That's a really good tip actually.
Yeah. Yeah. And always ask
Yeah.
your audience like everything. I have so many people in my mastermind program that are like, I don't know what, like how big my online course should be. I don't know like what it should be on. I don't know like what to price it at. I'm like, your audience, you're sitting on a gold mine. Like anyone who has any following online is sitting on a gold mine. Whether they're like
Yeah. So
getting in
you
their
have,
head about like, oh, I only have, 2,000 followers. That's 2,000 people. That's a lot of people
yeah.
to do
Yeah,
market
I did an
research on.
event with my clients with 55 live clients a while back, and that was a lot of people. So imagine 2,000 people.
Yeah.
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 So did you grow your Instagram following with the travel photos, or how did that?
Yep. Yeah. It was mainly with the travel photos. Reels and things like that didn't exist at that time. Obviously, like if I were starting over now in the more business niche, I would lean very heavily on reels and, original content. But yeah, that's how I grew, was travel
Yeah.
photography. And it was interesting pivoting.
Realize you're making us sound old. You realize that, right?
I know, like back in my day, there were no reels.
Yeah. Back in the
Yeah.
Middle Ages.
It was literally just like photos, no stories, nothing.
It's
So weird.
like 2
Hashtags
years
worked.
ago.
Wow. TBT, hashtags working.
Oh my God, hashtags. I long for the hashtags.
Yeah.
Yeah, so obviously 200,000 is nicely done. Um what was I gonna ask you about your programs, about the creation? No, I've lost it. Oh yeah, I remember actually. So one of the things that also inspires me, this is what we're talking about, how you inspire me. You have to accept it,
You inspire
is
me.
that you're like, I'm on a Christmas holiday with my vacation, going offline, bye. So
Yeah, that's the beauty of evergreen webinar funnels.
yeah.
I don't have,
Yeah, I
and
have it in
that's,
my other business
yeah,
too. My other business
yeah,
runs like that too. So it's really
yes.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just know about myself, I cannot create a business where I need to create content in order to make money. Like to me, in everything that I do, whether it's like, online business or whatever, it's minimal output for the maximum results, right? Like I don't want to have to be obligated to be on social media. I don't want to have to post about anything in order to make money. So the more I can rely on like paid traffic and also just like change my strategy when it comes to paid traffic. It's changed a lot over the years. Like what worked for me 3 years ago does not work now, but being willing to put in the time to pivot and try out new things for like that long-term result of maintaining a similar type of business is really important. I get drained very quickly, like energy wise, talking about offering, selling. I can't do it. Maybe someone call it
When you see
laziness,
me, you get
but
tired by proxy.
oh yeah, I see you and I'm like, how the F is she online so much? And yeah.
Yeah.
But the other thing that
Yeah,
also
and I
helps
think
me, oh, sorry, go for it.
that's really important, is that, for example, for me, I've loved that for a long time. Now I'm ready for a transition. I feel like, oh, I want to transition. I think that's the beauty of running your own business, is you get to decide
Yeah,
what you want to do. Because some people are like, oh,
exactly.
but Amy, then I would have to do what you do. No, you don't have to do what I do. I'm teaching you
Mhm.
principles so you can do what
Yeah,
you want to do and you build your own freedom, because that's my
yeah,
whole core principle.
yeah. There's so many different options for how you can run your business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me currently, I am like, I'm not seeing anyone, so I'm not having kids or whatever, but I do plan on, by the time I have kids, I want to be able to just be like, I'm not there. So I'm already building the business to support that. Like
Yeah.
I'm going to be relying less on launches, more on passive, more on products instead of
Mhm.
programs. So I think it's really
Yeah.
exciting to just get to build the foundation for the business that allows you to
Yeah.
get the life you want.
Exactly. And the other cool thing about online courses or products that don't necessarily involve you is like down the line, let's say you want to rebrand away from your name, you can sell your business and you can't
Yeah,
do that with a coaching business. So
exactly.
it's always something I have in the back of my head.
Yeah. Did I see something about you freezing your eggs? Talking
Mm-hmm.
about kids. Did that happen? Is that something we're talking about?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's do it. I think sometime this year. I'm 29, so I'm young, but the more I read about egg freezing, the more I hear over and over again, like as young as you can do it, it's better. So I'm thinking about doing it this year. Obviously, just got out of a long-term relationship. I know I want kids for sure, but it's just a matter of like when. And I don't want to find myself in another relationship where I'm like forcing it for the sake of some like timeline, because the
Yeah.
timeline is very real. It's a lot of pressure as a woman.
I had literally never thought about freezing my eggs, and I started stories and I was like,
Is it a big thing in Belgium?
wait, no. But I was like,
Oh,
do I need to do this?
God, I'm such an influencer.
Yeah, you're such an influencer about the big stuff in life. I'm also like, I'm drinking wine. I need to reevaluate my drink. Like I've literally been very like thinking a lot about all of my behavior. Like you've been influencing a lot, and I don't even like watch a lot of stories or stuff. So thank you for doing that. But so with the egg freezing,
Certain people inspire people to buy jeans. I inspire, am I an alcoholic and should I freeze my eggs?
and also
I'm
make
dead.
it prettier. That's also what you do. Beige
Oh
to
my
beige.
God. Yeah. Oh my God, so funny.
Maybe after this interview, you're like, wow, Amy, you're the worst interviewer. Take this interview offline.
This is literally the best interview I've had in a long time.
Yeah. So with the egg freezing, I was like, holy shit. But so after my breakup, you know what a lot of people told me, including like family members, were like, oh, Amy, you can always just like go to like a sperm bank, or what is that called, and like make a baby yourself. And I'm like, I'm 29. This is not the post-breakup advice I want.
No.
Okay. And then I'm like, I'm not desperate. It'll happen. But then I saw the egg freezing. I was like, okay. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna freeze my eggs. And then I found out that apparently you have to do like a whole bunch of hormone shit. And I was like,
Oh yeah.
I'll reconsider this.
It's like IVF. It's like IVF. It's a lot. I feel like if you're gonna, I mean, it's so different for everyone. It's just for me, it feels like an insurance policy, like it just feels like security, knowing that they're there. Like I don't need to rush into it. But yeah, it's like a whole hormone thing. It's like IVF, you have to give yourself
Basically like being a dude.
injections. Yeah, it's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot.
Okay.
So we'll see how it goes. I'm going to be a mess on social media. I'll probably be like, hey guys, I'm going to be off for 2 months. And Amy's going to be like, fuck this girl.
Oh, I'll be like, I'm doing a takeover. I have time to spare.
Yeah, I know. Amy's like, I haven't talked enough on social media today, so I'm going to go over to Christina's house.
Honestly, like I have the two businesses. I have so much to say, but the thing, people are often like, how do you do it? But I don't consume stuff. So sometimes I watch your stories, but that's about it. I don't listen to podcasts. I don't read books anymore. I don't follow courses, barely follow coaching.
Yeah.
Like I'm getting into this period where I'm starting to feel like, oh, I'm ready to consume some stuff again, but no random shit. So people are like, you have so much time. Like you're scrolling on your phone for 4 hours a day. I'm making stuff on my phone for 4 hours a day.
Yes.
Our harsh truth. And sometimes like I've posted so many stories on my one account. I'll go to my other account and talk some more there. For me, it's like therapy, talking it out. And I don't need to consume. I don't need to see my messages. I don't want to talk to people. I just want to put stuff out there. That gives me energy.
No, and that's like the best way to be, because I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, I don't have time to do X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, girl, look at your screen time. You're spending 3 hours a day on Instagram, probably just scrolling and like making excuses for how much content you're consuming. Everybody has time. And I'm telling you, it's in how much time you're spending on social media consuming. I'm super conscious of it as well. Like I pretty much have every single stories every person's story muted except for like 5 people. And they're mostly lifestyle bloggers. To be honest, I don't love like following people that are doing the same thing as me, because then I always feel like I need to be doing more, or I need to be doing different, or all of that. So I just follow like lifestyle bloggers, or like home interiors, or like luxury home curators. I kind of like logging into Instagram and feeling like it's a mood board.
Nice. I'm teaching myself to go on TikTok instead of Instagram, but then there I'm much like, oh, ideas.
Amy, how are you doing now? Whenever I open TikTok, I spend like 3 hours on that app. It's so addicting.
Yeah, but especially it's very overwhelming for me. I get way too many ideas.
Yeah.
But there are a few hot guys I follow now on TikTok. I have fun watching at their profiles.
I'm curious how you create your content. What is your process? I know that's like a very open-ended question. But like, okay, let's say you open up TikTok and you're like, I've just decided that I'm the interviewer now. You open TikTok and you're
Christina,
like, oh my gosh,
I'm a TikTok noob. Okay. At the moment of recording, I have 157 followers on TikTok.
Okay, all right.
I'm just messing around there. I'm like, how does this app even work? I feel too old for the app. I don't get the user interface. I'm like, I need to edit something in InShot and then I'll upload it to Instagram or to TikTok and hope I can find the sound.
Okay, so let's not say TikTok. Let's say Instagram.
Okay, so let's take, so for my podcast, for example, I have a whole thing. So I publish a new podcast episode every Tuesday. Almost all of them are just me, only like you're here now. What I do is often it will just be based on a launch. So I know like, oh, I'm launching my Business Freedom Elevator, which is for a more starting target audience, like between 0 and 10K. I'll start mind mapping. I have huge whiteboards all over my house. Like I'll maybe put on some music, turn off my phone. I'll be like, what is this person struggling with? I'm like, oh, this. And then which story do I have about this? Which belief do I have? I just start mind mapping it all out, like 20, 30 minutes. Then I start circling stuff. I'm like, oh, this is a good storyline. I'll add this and this and that. And then before I know it, I have like 10 things to record.
I love that. I feel like I need a whiteboard somewhere.
Oh, you need huge whiteboards.
Yeah. I'm looking at a wall right now and I'm like, I like that.
But can you find them in beige is the question for you.
I know. If it's not white or beige or very, very light pink, it's just not happening. No, I really like that. And I find that it's like, it might be a little bit more straightforward for you to create content because you do have like more of a launch model, so it's clearer on like what is happening.
But I love it when I don't have a launch model. So
but then it's more like, what the hell do you post kind of thing? It's a little bit harder. Maybe
I literally have to physically withhold myself from not making too much content.
That's not my problem. That's not the problem that I have.
What is really difficult for me is executing things. So I love anything. So you know how you're like an auditive, visual, or kinetic person? So most people are visually stuff, like they remember stuff visually, like they see things computer. Then you have people who are auditive. Many people who listen to podcasts are like that. Kinetic is a very small percentage of people. I am that. Okay. So I love whiteboards, papers, pens, writing on the walls. Getting it into a computer is physically hard for me. So that's why I thrive with my team, because I have people who compliment me and I can like word vomit everything out and like draw stuff. In my podcast, I'll often be drawing stuff too, or in my coaching programs, and then they turn it into a structure. So what's difficult for me is doing stuff A to Z. I have so many ideas, but I don't get towards execution. Unless I hack myself, which is what I've done with my podcast, with VAs, with I was doing a test shoot with a videographer this morning. He's going to probably come on full time. I can talk all day long. I just don't want to edit it.
No, you are amazing. I know that you look at me and think I'm amazing, but I just look at your Instagram all the time and I'm like, how is she doing everything that you're doing? You're just...
So my stories I do myself, but my feed, almost everything is just planned in and batched.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very amazing.
I'm starting to feel awkward about this entire episode. It's just us telling each other we admire each other.
Literally the whole purpose of this podcast. But how do you reboot your energy? Like, what are the things that you do that like You can ask me a question and tell me to stop
Oh, I
asking
love this. I love
questions.
getting interviewed on
Okay.
my own podcast.
Yeah, I know. I love talking about myself. That's how I feel if you ask me questions. Okay. How do you take care of your energy as an entrepreneur?
Orgasms.
Okay. Other things than
Also.
that, because yeah, but like, I'm assuming you like sign off from work at one point, right? And
Yeah.
what do you do to like, what are the boundaries you take? Like, I guess, what are the boundaries you put in place to separate, can I speak, your business from your personal life? And in your personal life, like, what are you doing to recharge yourself? Because I just imagine you as like an Energizer bunny that is just like 24/7.
I'm definitely not an Energizer bunny. I look at myself like I have a part that's like a lion, and then I have a part that's like a penguin, and I should not go into extremes too much. In the middle, I think there is a teddy bear. The teddy bear is strong but soft. So that's me. Okay. That's me in coaching. I think that's me too now. Like I have smart stuff to say, harder stuff to say, but I'm also like, hee. So that's the teddy.
I have smart stuff to say.
Yeah. So what I do is I still struggle with boundaries and people pleasing, but I think I sometimes overlook how many boundaries I've already implemented. So with my clients, I have massive boundaries. The first thing I do when I have hundreds of people signing up for a 6-month program, the first thing I do is like, in the first video, I'm like, don't fucking DM me. I don't say fucking, but I'm like, do not DM me unless it's a meme or a joke or a win. Do not voice note me because I will never open the message again.
Yeah.
It just freaks me out and I never want to talk to you again. And I'm like, if you want me to be a good coach, then go to my support group where I and my support coaches will help you.
Yeah.
First thing is towards my clients. I used to struggle with that. Amazing boundaries. They never go overboard. When they do, I teach them, I educate my clients to respect my boundaries. When my team came on, that was like a new level of difficult because then I felt obligated towards them. Like I used to feel guilt about my clients. I had about my team, but I have a few simple things. I have an iMac in my office upstairs as well as here in my studio that I use. So you can't take your iMac to your couch. I don't have email on my phone. I don't really do email. I have downtime stuff on my apps now because I was checking my apps too often at night, like Slack and Voxer.
Yeah.
I also have a business partner that's also my best friend in my other business, and we decide to not talk about work through iMessage. iMessage is our private channel, and other stuff is through Voxer or Slack. I don't have that many boundaries with Instagram, but I do like everyone who's not really a friend or a real acquaintance is in my general folder, and I'll only check that if I check it during work hours or like if I really want to, but I usually don't. I don't get a lot of energy from engaging. I get energy from creating. And so how I recharge is I used to have set working hours 10 to 6, kind of like that. I'm currently practicing not opening my phone until 12 in the morning, like at noon. It's been a failure, but it's been getting better.
That's a long time to
go but it's not working. Like I might have been too optimistic.
Yeah, because I feel like you would have like friends that text you and are like, "Hey, can I hear from you before noon?"
I've tried doing like private phone, work phone. It doesn't work for me because there's so many boundaries that like blurry lines.
Yeah.
But just in the morning, not checking my phone first thing because I will get cranky. And often it's not even work that makes me cranky. It's just my personal environment asking me way too many questions, to be honest.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. I have very similar boundaries to you. Like I don't check my phone until probably about 9. So like I wake up at like 7 and I have like 2 hours to do like walk, coffee, morning journaling, all that stuff.
Maybe I should change to that because that sounds more realistic.
Yeah. And then the other thing too is similar to you, I don't have any work notifications on my phone. I don't have Slack, email, Instagram. Oh my God. No notifications on my phone other than iMessage, which is just friends and family, and calls, which is just friends and family. And then I'll the first thing I do in the morning is just look at my text to see if there's anything that a friend or family sent me.
And I only have like 5 people on iMessage. I have you on iMessage. So like if someone iMessages me, or like,
how do you only
you're not one of those 5? You're not one of
those
those 5 people, but like 5 people who use it with me. Everyone else uses WhatsApp.
Oh yeah, I forgot WhatsApp. Yeah.
Now I do have to add, I'm terrible at communication. Like my friends know that I'll probably not reply to a message, but if you call me, either I'll pick up or I'll call you back straight away. So that's my whole deal. I have to reiterate this a lot. What I do struggle with is like showing up online because, it's my job to create stories and all of that. And then friends being like, but you haven't replied to my message. I'm like, yeah, that's my work. And it's
Because
like,
that's my
I'm a news
work.
anchor.
Yes,
After my
exactly.
breakup, I got a lot of shit from my in-laws or ex-in-laws. They were like, and you keep showing up and talking about money. I'm like, this is my fucking job. Do you want me to shut down my
Right.
business and not pay my staff? Like, I
Yeah.
have to show up. Do you think I want to show up on video after I've cried my eyes out because
Yeah.
I'm so sad? No, I don't, but I have to go live.
Yeah, I know. There's so much gray area with that, especially like when certain things happen around the world, whether it's the Ukraine situation or whatever it is. I feel like there's so much hate that people get for posting online. And it's like, I get it. When you have a
But you
platform, you have a responsibility, but also like you went to work today, did you not? I have to go to work today.
Yeah, like, do I have a camera that looks inside your work? No, but you are at work. Did you shut down your store?
Right.
No, this is my
Yeah.
store.
Right. This is my business. I have to make money. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's totally crazy. It's a whole other thing. But yeah, I love all those tips you gave. That inspired me to take off work email from my phone. Even though I don't have notifications, I feel like just not being able to check it would be a nice thing.
Yeah. I mean, I can access
Yeah,
it
I'll think
through
about
my
that.
browser, like if I'm traveling and I need a document, but it's a whole
Yeah.
hassle. It's such a
Yeah.
big hassle that I just don't check email.
Yeah.
Definitely, I
It's
think
great.
email, it always amazes me how many people still use email. I just don't.
Yeah. Email is like the death. It's just constant stress, I feel.
Yeah.
And the other thing I try to do is like, I think this is a good tip for anyone listening, being very cognizant of where you're being like in responsive mode. I think responsive mode is like the killer of all productivity ever. So
And
like
creativity.
email and creativity, email, DMs, Slack messages, code, like client support, anything that you can do to like time block that stuff in like the first hour of your day and then not touch it
Yeah.
again for the rest of the day will help you so much.
And I think, especially with clients or family and friends or with a growing team, you might feel like you're obligated towards them to do that. What I did is I
Mhm.
actually sometimes I have epiphanies in coaching calls, and my team is present in coaching calls. So last few weeks ago, I was like, you know what? I'd actually just rather not be available until noon and only be CEO in the afternoons. So it's really funny. In our
Yeah,
Slack channel, someone on my team was like, hey guys, Amy only wants to be CEO in the afternoon. I'm like, yes, this is a thing now. I'm only CEO in the afternoon. Mornings are creation time.
that's
And
genius.
what helped me was talking to them about it and being like, I've sometimes felt guilty about prioritizing creation time because I was like, I
Mhm.
have to work in the business, I have to work with the team. But if I'm not creating content, we are not growing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's other stuff happening, but my
Yeah.
content, be it coaching content, module content, viral content,
Mhm.
doesn't matter. That's the whole spark of the company. That's my
Totally.
zone of genius.
Yeah.
And I was not prioritizing it. So I talked to them about it. And that really helped me also kind of like commit to let them help me. So that's what I've
Mhm.
always done, is like I hack myself. So don't
Mhm.
want to check your email, take it off your phone. Want to get training in, do it with the personal trainer. Don't have money for that, talk to your partner or
Yeah.
with a friend, or join a group class that
Yeah.
you're like, can someone slap me if I don't show up? Like, just
Yeah.
hacking yourself. And
Yeah.
don't want to check your phone in bed, buy an alarm
Mhm.
clock. Like, sometimes you just have to make those decisions to make everything go easier.
Easier. Definitely. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. Personal trainer is the best investment that I ever made of myself.
Yeah. I always feel a bit weird about saying it because I've been working with a personal trainer for a long time, but I feel like when I say this on the podcast, people will be like, but you're rich, you can afford it. But it's when I
Yeah,
started doing it, it was actually not that easy for me to pay. And it's still a big bill to pay for me, but I've
it
chosen to
is.
prioritize that over like
Yeah,
maybe other people buy purses. I don't buy purses. Or I
exactly.
could,
Yeah.
but I don't care about that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it definitely is a privilege to be able to afford personal training. But
Definitely.
I also think there's other things you can do as well. Like if you want to sign up for, like, for example, in the US, we have something called Class Pass. So you can like, it's a subscription model and you go to like a certain number of workout classes, like any class you want in the city for a set price per month. And you could even have a friend that like is your accountability buddy to go with you. I think
Yeah.
the aspect of personal training that is the most helpful for me is the accountability. Like
Yeah.
that's why I need it. Now, the other thing that comes with it is like you figure out what to do in the gym, which is helpful for me now for my own workouts. But I think it's the accountability piece that's like the
Yeah,
biggest.
and like I love my personal trainer. She's become a friend, so we have fun too.
Yeah.
But what I always do in coaching, and this is also where I might want to go with this so people don't think I'm a bitch, is like I want to invite people when you hear something. Like I talk from my perspective, from my chapter in my book where I am right now. For me
Yes.
right now, that means hiring a personal trainer. A couple of
Yes.
years ago, that meant every Thursday at 8 a.m. I went swimming with a friend, and swimming
Mhm.
was like very cheap.
Yeah.
And I did not have the willpower to just do exercises in my living room by myself. I had to acknowledge
Mhm.
that. I
Yeah.
think so many people make plans like, oh, I'm going to wake up at 6 and do stretches in my living room. And then they put the alarm at 6 and then they're like, no, I'll snooze. And the day after,
Yeah.
they'll do the same and then the same. I'm
Yeah.
not saying you need to be more tough. I'm saying you don't need to be more tough. You need to find something else that works for
Yeah.
you. I hate being realistic, but with that stuff, you don't have to wake up at 6. You just have to find something that works for you. So looking at
Mhm.
stuff like this, where you're like, oh, but I have to be available through email at all times. First, ask yourself, is this true or is this a story I'm telling myself? And secondly, how can I make this work for me? So for me, it might
Yeah.
be a personal trainer. For you, it might be your mom who loves going for morning
Mhm.
walks. The
Yeah.
past few years, I've been on walks with my mom once a week. That was also really great. And she was really happy with the quality time. So,
Mhm. Yeah. You can always adapt the
yeah.
core idea of something to whatever works for you.
Yeah. Do I sound like a bitch in this podcast interview?
No, I just realized probably I sound like a bitch sharing that I'm going to the personal trainer 3 times a week. So you've
I do
enlightened
four
me.
times, 4 times a week.
Okay, good.
And it's one of the best investments I've ever made. And
That's the thing is like you
I
have
could
to
never.
prioritize what is important to you. There's so many people listening that spend the equal amount of money going out, buying alcohol on dumb shit that they don't need. Like, just like look at where you're putting your money. It's all about priorities at the end of the day.
Yeah. And I made a decision to work, like, to keep on going. And at a certain point, when I could afford it, to invest in that. And like, it's for me,
Yeah.
let's just say for someone who is very privileged and who's growing her business right now, I couldn't do what I'm doing now every day with the same amount of energy if I didn't have those sessions. So for me,
Mhm.
it's definitely something I want. I'm also currently looking at how can I maybe implement something like that for my team, because if it helps me so much and my
I
confidence
love
and the way
that.
I feel,
Yeah.
maybe I can look at like a trainer for my entire team or a
Oh my
subscription. I
gosh.
don't know. Belgium isn't very nice
Yeah.
in doing stuff for your people, but I'm trying
Mhm.
to figure it out because I do believe there's just like physical exercise.
Totally.
The dopamine, oh, that's what I wanted to say, is so
Yeah.
important. I think why people check emails and messages and so much stuff on socials is because of the dopamine hits you get. And
Oh yeah.
I think it's very hard unlearning that behavior in the morning. But
Yeah.
giving yourself other
Yes.
things you can check off can give you little dopamine hits, like, oh, 3 minutes
Yep.
meditating. Okay, checked it off.
Yes.
Um, but
Yeah.
just for people to be aware that your phone is like the fucking devil.
It is. So there's a book called Molecule of More about dopamine. So I've had to learn a lot about dopamine because addiction is about dopamine essentially. And the same way that alcohol spikes your dopamine so much, social media does the same. And it's just not sustainable or healthy to have anything spike your dopamine like that. So you need like you were saying, little things, getting outside and going on a walk. That's just a little bit of dopamine, like snuggling with your dog, little bit of dopamine. But the more you like commit to that day after day, the easier it will get because you've taught your brain thousands of times. Every time I pick up my phone, I get dopamine. I feel good. And it takes a while to unlearn that and like create new pathways and patterns in your brain. So it just, it's something that takes time, but you will get there.
Yeah, and I think that's something a lot of scaling entrepreneurs struggle with who have a team. They're like, I'll just reply to everything in Slack. But that's actually not the most useful thing you can do, because if there was a really something on fire or something important, you would have gotten a phone call. And what's
Mm-hmm.
more important for you is to work on your proactive strategy stuff
Yep.
and not reply to the messages or even like do tasks, but not just like, I'll just get back to everyone, because half an hour later, there'll be more questions.
Yeah.
I think
Nothing
that's one of the
needs
most
your
important
immediate
things
attention.
to like unlearn reactive
Yes,
communication, which, I
absolutely.
mean, my friends and family hate me that I'm so bad at it, but it's kind of one thing or the other.
Yeah. And also empower your team to like figure it out themselves and like
Yeah.
be able to make the decisions. And once they learn like how you think about and how you problem solve a couple of situations, they should be able to hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah, I think vacations have been really great resets for me. When we've practiced, like, I'm gonna not be here for a while, I won't turn
Mhm.
on Vox or won't turn on Slack. If something is really urgent, you can call me.
Yeah.
But I think 2 weeks ago, I went away for a week. I didn't get any phone calls. I did not open Vox or did not open
Nice.
Slack. It was a big victory for me.
Yes, I did the
And
same.
it teaches them that they are fine without me. So,
Mhm.
and now they're more empowered. And last week, I did some podcast recordings myself here in my studio. What do you think of my studio, by the way?
It's beautiful. I love
Yeah.
it. Love the plant.
And yesterday, Robin called me, and I used to also be very anxious when someone called me. I'm like, someone died. I'm learning that behavior.
Yeah.
And she's like, hey, I have a question about the podcast. I'm like, oh, I'm working out right now. Can I call you back in half an hour? So I was in the car and she's like, yeah, we don't have the video file for that podcast episode we recorded. We do have the audio. And she's like, and I'm suggesting we do this to solve it. I was like, super calm. I don't get upset about mistakes. We don't have a blaming culture. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I love the suggestion. Let's go for
Yeah.
that suggestion.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that policy of like, whenever there's a problem, come to me with like 2 solutions and whatever you think is the best one.
Yeah. But that starts with teaching your team to not be like giving your opinion on everything and being like, what would you like to do?
Yeah. Trust themselves.
Yeah. Such a big one. So we've talked about a lot of things. I think we're going to recap this in a bunch of tips. Christina, before I ask you a final question, where can people find more about you? Like, let's get that out of the way. Sorry.
The ending podcast question.
Let's get like, there's more content coming up after this question because I want people to listen to what you have to say.
Okay. Oh, that's a good technique. Okay. You can find me on Instagram at Christina Galbato. My website is the same. From there, you can find links to all of my free trainings about Instagram growth, making money through brand collaborations, growing your blog. I think the most important thing to recognize about brand collaborations is that they're not just for influencers, whatever you have in your mind about that. Anybody that has a niche and a perspective and is in a specific industry online can work with brands. So I think it's just a great kind of added income stream that anyone can implement pretty easily. And my podcast is Her Life by Design. And that is
amazing. I love it. Okay, so what's one thing you would tell your 16-year-old self is my question for you.
Oh my God, this is probably going to be like deep though. Hold on.
I'm ready for the deep, go deep. That's what she said also. It's like in my coaching calls, I had the sex jokes at the end. Oh my
God. Yeah, let me, I'm dead. Sex jokes at the end. I'm assuming you guys will edit any enormous pauses out. Let's see. I would tell her that she should trust herself, that she's more capable than she believes, and to not binge drink so much because she's going to fuck herself up later. That's my advice.
Solid advice. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what would you tell yourself over, like, so second question, in the, like, as an entrepreneur, when you thought you were just blogging or stuff, like, what would you tell baby entrepreneur Christina?
I would tell her to not take so much pride in doing everything yourself. When I first started, I had like an enormous sense of pride of like, I built this website myself. I put out all this content myself, and it's cool to figure things out and be resourceful. But at the same time, if you want to grow your business quickly, you have to learn to outsource to people that know how to do things better than you, and not get so like, not let your ego prevent you from hiring people and outsourcing.
Don't let your ego run the show.
Yeah, that's a good takeaway.
Nice. I love it. Christina, thank you so much for being here. I loved having you on. Let's do this again soon in a more structured way. But I hope people loved listening. If you were listening or watching, please tag us on Instagram, Christina Galbato and Fast Forward Amy. We would love to know if you liked this or if we were two rude bitches.
I can't take the feedback. Don't tell me if I was a rude bitch.
Just tell us we were great.
Amazing. Yes, we offer so much value. Thank you, Amy.
Okay. Sometimes in business, I think you gotta be a chameleon to understand other people's needs, and that is how you can grow. We don't grow by doing what we do. We grow by accommodating our clients' needs while also staying authentic in our own business. So if you're interested in how you can apply this even more in your relationships and in your client relationships, we've prepped a guide for you alongside a link of the test that you can go and take to see which percentages are your scores. And you can find that through fastforwardamy.com/love languages. I think especially, well, in any type of relationship, this is gonna come up. So I would say this is something you can't unknow, and you better get started knowing it.